Okay, in this video, I'm going to be walking you through how we can make our own boilerplate code to speed up our projects. This is going to be great if you're someone who is constantly making new projects and you find yourself doing the same tasks over and over again, stuff like styling, authentication, database stuff, and like that. You know, just the kind of stuff that's needed in almost any kind of application. The end result is going to be a GitHub repository, which we can then use to clone to quickstart any project and have the core features up and ready already. So without wasting any more time, let's actually get to it. The first thing I'm going to do is create a GitHub repository. You can make it public or private, it's up to you. Okay, now I've made my GitHub repository. This is what we're going to use to actually hold our boilerplate code. And the next thing I'm going to do is actually initialize my project. I'm going to be using Next.js for this, but feel free to use whatever you want. So now that's done, I'm going to open this up in VS Code. And let me actually run this just to make sure it's working. So now I'm back over on localhost 3000, just waiting for my app to get up and running. And as you can see, my Next.js app is fine and is up and running. When setting up this app, Next.js also included Tailwind for me, which is nice, but I'm also going to add DaisyUI. DaisyUI is a component library for Tailwind, so I also want this in my app, so I'm going to just quickly install this. And also make a change to my Tailwind config file. And setting dark theme to false. And let me run this again, npm run dev. Okay, nothing has broken so far, so let me head back to my editor. I'm going to go to index.js. I'm going to remove everything from here. Hit save. Let me go to my CSS and let me remove everything other than the top 3 lines. Okay, hit save. Go back to index. So right here I've got a button and I've got some classes which are from DaisyUI. I can see it's been installed properly, so right now we have DaisyUI also up and running. So that's everything done for the styling part of my boilerplate. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to connect some kind of backend, which I'm going to be using Firebase for, but again you can use anything else you want. I have an old Firebase project up here, which I'm going to try to connect my app to. So I'm going to go to project overview, and then click on my app. So first of all, I'm going to install Firebase. I'm also going to make a file outside here to hold my Firebase configuration. I'm going to copy and paste the config stuff. Let me run the app again. And since I also want to make use of authentication and database, I'm going to import them and export them as well. Import get auth. So as you can see, I've got the database, the authentication, and the app, and I'm exporting all of them here. Now let me go back to index and actually make sure that in order to make sure that it's properly connected, I'm going to try to add something to the database. So when this button is clicked, I'm going to try to add some data. And let me write a quick function here. So as you can see, when the button is clicked, it's going to add some data to the collection of tests, and it's going to add a object which has some random data here. So if I go back here and I click the button, and then I'm going to head over to my database, you can see that I do have this object added. So we have successfully connected our Firebase backend to our project. The next thing I'm going to do is head back to my editor, and I'm going to make a few common pages and components which exist throughout almost any application, which are the Navbar, the sign in and sign out pages. Going to make a components folder and have a navbar in here. Navbar. I'm going to import this navbar inside of my layout, inside the app file. And let me just style up this navbar very simply quickly. You can now see the navbar. Let me just quickly add a shadow to it. And now for the sign in and sign up pages. Actually, let me also add a link to this. Okay, we haven't actually made this page yet, so let's quickly make this page. What you can see right now is I got two input fields, one for an email, one for a password, and I've got a button which when clicked it creates the account, which I haven't made the function for yet. Let me hit save. And you can see it looks like this. You can see it looks like this. Let's quickly create an account. So this creates the user. And once we have created the user, I'm going to reroute them back. Okay, so let me go back to my project. Let me go in authentication. I see I got one test account, so let me create another test account. Got a@test.com. Let's say password 123. Create account. Okay, go here and I refresh. You can see we've got this user signed up. Okay, I'll close this. Okay, let me do the same thing for sign in. So if I go to sign in right now, this is empty. So I'm going to copy this, go to sign in, paste, and now I'm going to make some changes. So sign in, it's going to be sign in, and head of create account is going to be signed in. Sign in. And on click, we want to sign in. Sign in. And what we want to do here is we want to await sign in with email and password. Auth, email, password. Hit save. Now we can see we've got a sign in page too. Okay, if I go back to home. So right now I've made a navbar, I've got a sign up page, and I've also got a sign in page. Okay. One more important thing I'm going to need for my boilerplate is I'm going to need an easy way to know if the user is signed in or if there is no user at the moment. And for that, I'm going to be creating a custom hook, which quickly returns to me the currently existing user or null if no one is there. So what I'm going to do is, let me collapse all the folders. Outside of here, I'm going to create another folder called custom hooks. And I'm going to make a hook called get user JSX. And this is going to return to me the current user, if any exists. It's going to be null to start off with. And inside of a use effects hook, what we're going to do is where is it here? We're going to use on auth state changed to get the existing user. So let me use this. On auth state changed, takes the auth first of all, and then it returns the user. Okay. So if there's a user, I'm going to return set user as user. Otherwise, I'm going to set the user as null. Okay. And then, since this is not an actual page, I'm just going to return user, and I'm also going to return set user, just in case we want to manually set the user later on. So now I can use this custom hook anywhere else to easily get the currently signed in user. As an example, let's go over to index right here. And over here, I'm going to call that function get user. And this is going to return to me the user. So const user is equal to get user. And in this button here, I'm no longer going to add data. So let me get rid of add data. Instead, I want to log some information. So get rid of this. Let's say const log info, and this button I want to say log info, and when we click it we want to run the log info function, which is going to console log the user. So let me go back to localhost. Okay, use effect is not defined. I forgot to import use effect. So let me go to get user and use effect. I need to import this. Hit save. Go back here. Author is not imported. Okay, I forgot to import a lot of things here. Okay, that should be everything. Save. Go back. Cool. Now if I open up developer tools, get rid of this, hit log info, we can see the currently logged in user, we can see the email, etc. Now using this, I'm going to change up the navbar to show sign in and sign up only if the user is logged in, and if the user is not logged in, and if the user is logged in, then we just want to show sign out. So I'm going to go over to my navbar component. I'm going to get the user. Const user is equal to get user. And if there isn't a user, then I want to return, let's see. Okay, I want to do this. I want to do all of this inside of my list. So inside of here, if there isn't a user, then I want to return the sign up. I also want to return a sign in. So it's going to be sign in. Hit save. And if there is a user, I want to return an li which says sign out. And when this is clicked, so let me give a class name of cursor pointer. And when it's clicked, I want to sign out. So let me make this function over here. Const sign out. It's going to be an asynchronous function which await sign out. And this just takes off. Okay, I'm going to hit save. So if I go back here, because there is currently a user, I can hit sign out. Right? And just to make this a bit more clearer, I'm going to go back to index, and down here I'm going to say if there's a user, say there is a user, and if there isn't a user, I'm going to say there is no user and hit save, just to make this more clear. So you can say that you can see this as a message, there is a user. If I hit sign out, there is no user, and we also get sign up and sign in. Okay, so now we can go back to sign in. We can get our earlier details, and we can sign in, and we get back to this page. Just going to clean this up a tiny bit. Let me get rid of all of this. Just have a H1 that's a bit large. Just gonna say home, hit save, get rid of this function. Okay, and let me sign out. So right now this is already forming a pretty decent starting point for future projects. We have an app which has a navbar. We have the sign in, sign up pages. You can sign up and make an account. You can sign in, and we have a way to easily get the existing user. Now I'm just going to push this up to GitHub. So let me go back to GitHub over here. And using these commands, I'm going to push up my code to GitHub. So let me open up a new terminal. So there's already, so we can run git init, which already exists. We can git add everything. We can git commit with a message saying first commit. We can git branch. We can add a remote origin. And we're gonna finally push. Okay, now that's done. Let's go back here. Let's quickly refresh. And you can see we have our existing project over here. One thing I have done here accidentally is I have pushed with these existing API keys. So when you do push, remember to remove this and add this in as environment variables instead. Now we've worked on a few basic core features. Remember, you can always add multiple more features that you frequently find yourself using, such as Stripe payments, emails, notifications, or whatever else you find yourself frequently using. So I'm going to close this now. Now let me show you how we would start a new project with this boilerplate code and essentially jumpstart to the point where we have everything already set up. So let's imagine now I want to start a new project. All I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to my Git repository. I'm going to go over here, copy this link, and then I'm going to hit git clone, enter the link, and then enter in my new project name. So for example, let me call this test project. It's going to clone into my test project. I'm going to cd into my test project, and then I'm going to run npm install. And when that's finished, I'm going to open it up in VS Code. And as you can see, we have now got our new project, which has the hook for getting users, and it has Firebase. What you would do is you would come here, you would make your new Firebase project, and you would get your new configuration keys, and then you would just paste it in here to connect it to your new Firebase project or whatever backend you have. So I can run this project now. Let me go back to localhost. And finally, it's up and running. So now we have our new project, and as a starting point, we already have a sign up page. We have a sign in page. And if we look at our code, we already have everything set up. We can get the user. We can make use of our database. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. If there's anything that's not working for you, anything you find confusing, please let me know in the comments below, and hopefully I will get back to you.